Commander Zethka stood on the bridge of the Shadowblade watching the small blue planet through the massive viewscreen. His gray-scaled hands gripped the command rail as his yellow eyes studied the primitive settlement below. The humans had built their colony in a valley between two mountains where they dug deep holes to pull metals from the ground. Their buildings looked simple and weak compared to Vrex architecture. The Vrex Empire had conquered 17 different species across the galaxy, and humans would be the 18th. Zethka had read the reports about these strange mammals, who walked on two legs and had no natural weapons like claws or fangs. They lived short lives and seemed to fight among themselves more than they fought external enemies. Most importantly, they had only recently learned to travel between stars, which made them inferior to the mighty Vrex who had mastered space travel for over 3,000 years. Commander, the settlement has approximately 3,000 inhabitants, reported Lieutenant Caxwell from his position at the sensor station. They have basic defensive weapons and an energy shield around their main buildings, but nothing that could threaten our forces. Zethka nodded as he studied the tactical display. The human colony called itself Colony 7 and sat on a world rich with rare metals that the Vrex Empire needed for their war machines. Taking this world would be simple like all the others. The humans would surrender quickly once they understood. The power of Vrex military might open a communication channel to their leadership, Zethka commanded. The main screen shifted to show the interior of what appeared to be a human command center. A tall human male with short brown hair and green eyes appeared on screen wearing a simple blue uniform with metal insignia on his shoulders. "I am Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison, commander of Colony 7, the human said in a calm voice. "I assume you are here to discuss our presence in this system." Zethka was surprised by the human's composure. Most species showed immediate fear when faced with Vrex warships, but this Jake Morrison seemed almost relaxed. "I am Commander Zethka of the Vrex Stellar Empire. You and your people have 48 standard hours to evacuate this world. After that time, we will destroy your settlement and take possession of this planet." Jake Morrison looked thoughtful for a moment, then smiled slightly. "I appreciate the warning, Commander, but I'm afraid we cannot comply with your request. This is our home, and we intend to stay." The response shocked Zethka. Every other species had immediately begun evacuation procedures when faced with Vrex demands. Some had tried to negotiate for more time or offered tribute, but none had simply refused. "You do not understand, human. We have 17 warships in orbit around your world. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us, and your shields will not protect you from our bombardment. You will leave or you will die." "I understand perfectly, Commander," Jake replied, still maintaining his calm demeanor. "You have superior numbers and technology. However, this is our home, and we have families here, including children who were born on this world. We cannot simply abandon everything we have built." Zethka studied the human's face, looking for signs of fear or deception, but found neither. Jake Morrison appeared to be stating simple facts without emotion. "Very well, human. You have been warned. Prepare your people for death." The communication ended, and Zethka turned to his tactical officer. "Begin preparations for ground assault. Deploy 2 battalions of shock troops to secure the mining facilities and eliminate resistance. This should be finished within 6 hours." As his crew began implementing the attack plan, Zethka continued watching the human settlement through long-range sensors. He expected to see panic and chaos as the humans realized their situation was hopeless. Instead, he observed organized activity as humans moved equipment and took defensive positions with military precision. Dr. Lisa Chen worked frantically in the colony's main laboratory trying to boost power to their defensive shields. She had studied Vrex technology from intercepted communications and knew their weapons could penetrate standard human defenses. However, she also knew that human engineering often succeeded through creativity rather than raw power. "Tony, I need you to reroute power from all non-essential systems to the shield generators," she called to the chief mechanic, Tony Rodriguez, who was already pulling cables and rewiring power connections. "Already on it, Doc," Tony replied as sparks flew from his work. "I've shut down everything except life support and defensive systems. We might be able to increase shield strength by 30%. Throughout the colony, humans prepared for battle with grim determination. They had no illusions about their chances against the Vrex Empire. but they also had no intention of surrendering their home without a fight. Parents said goodbye to their children who were being evacuated through hidden tunnels that led deep into the mountains where emergency shelters had been prepared. Jake Morrison stood in the command center surrounded by his officers as they coordinated the defense. Captain Ryan Walsh would lead the main defensive line around the settlement while Sergeant Amy Parker organized guerrilla forces in the mining tunnels. They had studied every available piece of information about Vrex tactics and capabilities. Remember, everyone, we are not trying to win this war, Jake told his team. We are trying to make them pay such a high price that they decide we are not worth the effort. Every minute we delay them gives our families more time to reach safety and sends a message to other human colonies about how to fight these invaders. As the Vrex ships moved into attack position, Zethka felt confident that this would be another quick victory to add to his record. The humans were brave, but bravery could not overcome superior firepower and numbers. Soon this world would belong to the Vrex Empire, and these strange mammals would be just another footnote in the history of conquest. He had no idea that he was about to encounter something that would change his understanding of warfare forever. The Vrex assault craft descended through Colony 7's atmosphere like metal hawks diving toward prey. Each sleek transport carried 20 elite shock troops armed with energy weapons and protected by advanced armor that had never failed against enemy fire. Commander Zethka watched from his command ship as the first wave approached the human settlement, expecting to see the familiar sight of enemies fleeing in terror. Instead, the humans opened fire while the Vrex ships were still descending. Primitive kinetic weapons sent metal projectiles screaming through the air while improvised rockets launched from hidden positions throughout the valley. The attacks were coordinated and precise, suggesting military training that intelligence. Reports had not mentioned first assault wave reporting heavy resistance. Came the voice of Captain Velthak over the communication system. Enemy fire is more accurate than expected, and they have prepared defensive positions we did not detect from orbit. Zethka frowned as he studied the tactical display. Red indicators showed Vrex casualties mounting while the human positions remained largely intact. Increase the attack intensity. Deploy additional fire support and suppress their defensive positions. The battle below intensified as more Vrex forces joined the assault. Captain Ryan Walsh led the human defense from a reinforced position near the main settlement while his soldiers fought with a determination that surprised the attacking Vrex warriors. These humans did not retreat when outnumbered, nor did they panic when their positions came under heavy fire. Sergeant Amy Parker coordinated attacks from the mining tunnels, where her teams used the underground network to strike Vrex forces from unexpected directions. The tunnels had been modified with hidden weapons caches and escape routes that allowed small groups of humans to attack them disappear before the Vrex could respond. They fight like cornered animals, reported one Vrex squad leader as his unit took cover from human fire. But they are too organized and disciplined for desperate creatures. These humans have prepared for this battle. What disturbed the Vrex soldiers most was not the human tactical competence, but their psychological profile during combat. Where other species showed fear or desperation when facing superior enemies, the humans displayed cold calculation. They shared information quickly and adapted their tactics based on Vrex movements with efficiency that suggested extensive military experience. Carlos Rodriguez proved this point when a Vrex energy blast severed his left arm during an attack on the main settlement. Instead of retreating for medical treatment, he used his remaining hand to trigger explosives that had been hidden near his position. 6 Vrex warriors died in the explosion while Carlos dragged himself to safety, still firing his weapon with grim determination. Medical team to Sector 7, came Dr. Helen Baker's voice over the human communication network. We have wounded who need immediate attention, but keep fighting until I get there. The human medic moved through the battlefield treating injuries while carrying a rifle and engaging Vrex forces when necessary. She showed no hesitation about switching between healing wounded humans and killing attacking enemies. This dual nature confused Vrex soldiers who were trained to view medical personnel as non-combatants. Mining engineer Kate Sullivan led teams that converted industrial equipment into weapons with frightening creativity. Heavy machinery designed for digging became mobile weapons platforms, while mining explosives were reconfigured into devastating anti-personnel devices. The humans seemed capable of turning any available resource into tools of war, Commander we. At taking heavier casualties than predicted, Captain Velthak reported as the first assault wave regrouped. The humans are using tactics we have not encountered before, and their weapons are more effective than intelligence suggested. Zethka studied the battle reports with growing concern. His elite shock troops had conquered fortified positions defended by species with superior technology and greater numbers. Yet these primitive humans had inflicted 30% casualties while losing only a fraction of their own forces. Worse than the tactical situation was the psychological effect on his warriors. Vrex soldiers began reporting that humans fought without proper fear and seemed to become more focused and dangerous as the battle intensified. Some humans even appeared to smile while engaging in combat as if they found warfare entertaining rather than terrifying. Pilot Danny Clark demonstrated this disturbing human trait when he used a civilian aircraft to attack Vrex gunships in what could only be described as a suicide mission. However, instead of dying in despair, he broadcast tactical information to other human forces, right up until his aircraft exploded against a Vrex transport. His final transmission contained detailed information about Vrex ship vulnerabilities and suggestions for more effective attacks. These creatures do not fight like any enemy we have faced, observed Lieutenant Caxwell as he monitored human communications. They share information about our tactics and adapt their strategies in real time. They are learning from every engagement and becoming more effective. The truth of this observation became clear when the second Vrex assault wave encountered defenses that had been modified based on lessons learned from the first attack. Humans had repositioned weapons and adjusted their tactics to counter Vrex advantages with precision that suggested professional military analysis communication. Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker intercepted Vrex tactical frequencies and began predicting their movements with uncanny accuracy. The humans started anticipating Vrex attacks and positioning defenders exactly where they would be most effective. What had begun as a simple conquest was becoming a complex chess match with an enemy that learned faster than any species the Vrex had encountered. Factory Supervisor Maria Santos led a team that captured damaged Vrex equipment and began reverse engineering it within hours. Human technicians studied alien technology with the same methodical approach they used for mining equipment and quickly identified ways to turn Vrex weapons against their creators. Sir, the humans are broadcasting something on multiple frequencies, reported the communications officer aboard the Shadowblade. Put it on speakers, Zethka commanded. The bridge filled with strange human voices singing what appeared to be war songs in their primitive language. The music was haunting and rhythmic with words that spoke of death and glory and fighting against impossible odds. Somehow the songs penetrated Vrex audio filters and reached the ears of warriors who had never heard anything like them. More disturbing were the human broadcasts that described Vrex casualties by name and detailed how each warrior had died. The humans seemed to know more about Vrex losses than the Vrex commanders did, and they shared this information with cold precision that chilled veteran warriors. As the first day of battle ended, Zethka realized he was facing something unprecedented in Vrex military history. The humans were not just resisting, they were learning and adapting and becoming more dangerous with each passing hour. His elite forces were being systematically dismantled by an enemy that treated warfare as a problem to be solved rather than a horror to be endured. For the first time in his military career, Commander Zethka felt the cold touch of uncertainty. Commander Zethka paced the bridge of the Shadowblade as reports of continued human resistance filled the command center. 2 full days had passed since the initial assault, and his forces had made minimal progress against the stubborn defenders. What should have been a quick victory was becoming an embarrassing stalemate that threatened his reputation and military career. Bring Captain Velthak to full bombardment position, he ordered his tactical officer. If these humans will not surrender to ground forces, then we will destroy their positions from orbit and take what remains. The Vrex warships moved into attack formation and began raining energy blast down on human defensive positions. The primitive shields flickered and sparked under the assault, but somehow continued functioning, despite taking damage that should have destroyed them completely. Dr. Lisa Chun had managed to boost their power output beyond theoretical limits through modifications that defied conventional engineering. Sir, the human shields are adapting to our weapon frequencies, reported the sensor operator. They appear to be adjusting their defensive systems in real time to counter our bombardment. This revelation shocked Zethka because it suggested the humans possessed technical knowledge that intelligence reports had claimed was beyond their capabilities. No species had ever adapted their defenses during active combat, yet these primitive mammals were somehow modifying their equipment while under direct attack. The ground battle continued with increased intensity as Zethka deployed his remaining reserves, hoping to overwhelm human positions through sheer numbers. Captain Ryan Walsh coordinated the defense with tactical skill that impressed even veteran Vrex officers who monitored human communications. His orders were precise, and his positioning of forces showed deep understanding of military strategy. Sergeant Amy Parker led her guerrilla teams in attacks that struck Vrex supply lines and communication equipment with surgical precision. The humans had mapped every tunnel and cave system in the region and used this knowledge to appear where enemies least expected them. Vrex forces found themselves fighting an enemy that could strike anywhere and disappear into terrain they knew better than their own ships. What truly disturbed Zethka was the psychological warfare the humans had begun implementing. They broadcast detailed descriptions of Vrex casualties, including personal information about dead warriors that should have been classified. Somehow, the humans had intercepted private communications and learned the names and histories of Vrex soldiers who had died in battle. Attention Vrex forces, came a calm human voice over intercepted frequencies. Lieutenant Dexcan of the 3rd Assault Division died at coordinates 774 when he stepped on a human explosive device. He was 43 years old and had a mate named Celadex waiting for him on the homeworld. We regret his death and honor his courage in battle. These broadcasts unnerved Vrex warriors, who had never faced an enemy that knew so much about their personal lives. The humans spoke respectfully about Vrex dead, but the fact that they possessed such information suggested intelligence capabilities far beyond what had been expected. Even more unsettling were the human war songs that somehow penetrated all Vrex communication systems. The strange music filled command channels and troop frequencies with haunting melodies and words that spoke of death and sacrifice and fighting against impossible odds. Some Vrex soldiers reported hearing the songs in their dreams. Mining engineer Kate Sullivan continued converting industrial equipment into weapons with creativity that amazed and terrified Vrex observers. Heavy construction machinery became mobile artillery, while mining charges were reconfigured into sophisticated explosive devices. The humans seemed capable of weaponizing anything they could touch. They have turned their entire colony into a weapon, observed Captain Velthek during a tactical briefing. Every building contains hidden defenses and every piece of equipment has been modified for war. These humans have prepared for this battle far longer than we realized. The truth of this statement became clear when Vrex forces discovered that human civilians had been evacuated through tunnel systems that stretched for kilometers underground. The networks connected to natural cave systems in the mountains where emergency shelters had been stocked with supplies and weapons. The humans had planned for invasion and prepared accordingly. Communication Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker proved particularly troublesome when he began intercepting Vrex tactical communications and predicting their movements with disturbing accuracy. Human forces started appearing exactly where they needed to be to counter Vrex attacks, as if they could read their enemies' minds. "Sir, the humans are using our own communication protocols against us," reported the signals intelligence officer. "They have somehow decoded our encryption and are monitoring all our transmissions in real time." This development forced Zethka to implement communication security measures that slowed his own forces' coordination while the humans continued operating with perfect efficiency. The primitive mammals had turned superior Vrex technology into a disadvantage through pure intelligence and adaptability. Factory Supervisor Maria Santos led teams that captured and reverse-engineered Vrex equipment with speed that defied explanation. Human technicians studied alien weapons and vehicles, then produced crude but effective copies within hours. Soon, human forces were using modified Vrex energy weapons against their creators. The psychological impact on Vrex forces became severe. When several experienced warriors requested transfer off-world, claiming the humans fought like demons without souls. These were veteran soldiers who had conquered multiple star systems. Yet they expressed genuine fear about facing human defenders. They Do not fight like living creatures, reported one squad leader after a particularly brutal engagement. They show no fear and feel no pain, and they smile while they kill us. These humans are not natural. Zethka began monitoring human communications, directly hoping to understand their psychology and tactical thinking. What he discovered disturbed him more than anything he had encountered in 30 years of military service. The humans discussed casualties and tactics with clinical detachment while maintaining perfect morale, despite impossible. ODSDR Helen Baker continued treating wounded from both sides with equal care, yet she never hesitated to kill when combat required it. She represented the disturbing duality of human nature that confused Vrek's understanding. How could the same creature show compassion and brutality with equal ease? Pilot Danny Clark had been replaced by another human aviator who used civilian aircraft in kamikaze attacks against Vrek's positions. This new pilot, Nancy Williams, showed the same fearless approach to combat while maintaining tactical awareness that impressed enemy observers. These humans adapt faster than any species we have encountered, Zethka told his staff during an emergency meeting. They learn from every engagement and improve their performance while our forces become less effective due to casualties and psychological pressure. The situation had become untenable, and Zethka faced a choice no Vrek's commander had ever confronted in the Empire's long history of conquest. The third day of battle brought revelations that shattered everything. Commander Zethka thought he understood about warfare and enemy psychology. His forces had been reduced to less than 60% of their original strength, while the humans continued fighting with undiminished effectiveness despite suffering their own casualties. What disturbed him most was not their tactical competence, but their complete psychological profile. Dr. Helen Baker demonstrated the confusing duality of human nature when she treated wounded Vrek's prisoners with the same medical care she gave to human soldiers. She cleaned their wounds and administered pain relief while speaking gently in their language, which she had somehow learned during the battle. Yet when combat resumed, she returned to her rifle and killed Vrek's attackers with cold precision. "Why do you heal us then fight us?" asked the wounded Vrek's warrior as Dr. Baker bandaged his injured arm. "Because you are injured and I am a doctor," she replied simply. "When you are healed, you will try to kill my people, and I will try to kill you. This is war, but it does not mean we cannot show basic decency." This response exemplified the human approach to conflict that bewildered Vrek's understanding. They treated enemies with respect and compassion, yet fought with ruthless efficiency when necessary. They seemed capable of separating the practical requirements of war from personal emotions about their opponent's communication officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker, achieved the breakthrough that changed everything when he successfully decoded Vrek's military encryption and gained access to their tactical network. The humans began receiving Vrek's battle plans in real time and used this information to position their forces with devastating effectiveness. "Sir, the humans are reading our communications faster than our own commanders," reported the signals officer aboard the Shadowblade. "They know our attack plans before our ground forces receive their orders." Zethka realized his technological advantage had become a liability. The superior Vrek's communication system was now serving human tactical needs. While his own forces operated in increasingly confused isolation, the humans had not just adapted to Vrek's technology, they had surpassed it through pure intellectual capability mining. Engineer Kate Sullivan proved this point when her teams captured a Vrek's heavy weapons platform and reverse-engineered it completely. Within 6 hours, human technicians studied the alien technology, then produced improved versions that were more effective than the originals. Soon, human forces were using modified Vrek's weapons that outperformed their creators' designs. "How is this possible?" Zethka asked his chief technical officer. "Our weapons represent centuries of development and refinement. The humans approach technology differently than we do, sir," came the reply. "We perfect existing designs while they innovate constantly. They see every piece of equipment as something that can be improved regardless of how advanced it already is." Factory supervisor Maria Santos led the technical teams that turned captured Vrek's equipment into hybrid weapons that combined alien technology with human engineering principles. The results were crude-looking devices that performed better than sophisticated Vrek's originals through creative application of basic physics and innovative power management. Psychological warfare continued as humans broadcast increasingly detailed information about Vrex casualties and tactical failures. They somehow knew the personal histories of dead warriors and shared this information with respectful precision that honored the fallen while demoralizing survivors. Attention Vrex forces, came the calm voice of Jake Morrison over intercepted frequencies. We have recovered the body of Captain Velthak, who died fighting bravely for his beliefs. He will be cremated according to Vrex customs and his ashes returned to your ship. We honor worthy enemies even in death. This gesture confused Vrex warriors who expected humans to desecrate enemy dead or use botas as psychological weapons. Instead, the humans showed respect for fallen enemies while continuing to kill living ones with clinical efficiency. They seemed capable of honoring opponents while destroying them. The turning point came when schoolteacher turned sniper Nancy Williams killed Captain Velthek during a Vrex assault on the main settlement. She had positioned herself in a concealed location and waited patiently for the perfect shot, demonstrating tactical patience that impressed veteran Vrex observers. Her single precise shot eliminated the most experienced Vrex field commander. How did a civilian educator become such an effective military sniper? Zethka asked his intelligence officer. Human civilian training apparently includes weapons instruction and tactical knowledge, sir. Their teachers are educated in multiple skills, including combat applications. This explains their rapid military adaptation. The death of Captain Velthek broke something in the Vrex command structure that had seemed unshakable. The surviving warriors began speaking of humans who fought without fear, who smiled while killing, and who treated warfare as an intellectual exercise rather than an emotional experience. Some requested immediate evacuation, claiming the humans were supernatural creatures. Pilot Danny Clark had been replaced by mechanic Tony Rodriguez, who used maintenance vehicles in kamikaze attacks against Vrex positions while broadcasting technical information about alien ship vulnerabilities. His final transmission before crashing into a Vrex transport contained detailed schematics that help human forces target critical systems. These humans share knowledge even while dying, observed Lieutenant Caxwell as he monitored the battle. They treat individual survival as less important than collective success. This gives them tactical advantages we cannot counter. Dr. Lisa Chun achieved another technical breakthrough when she successfully penetrated Vrex shield technology and developed weapons that could bypass their defenses. Human forces suddenly gained the ability to damage Vrex equipment that had previously seemed invulnerable to primitive human weapons. Sir, our shields are failing against human attacks, reported the tactical officer. They have somehow modified their weapons to penetrate our defensive systems. Zethka watched his supposedly superior technology being systematically defeated by an enemy using their own principles against them. The humans had not just learned to use Vrex equipment, they had improved it beyond original specifications through creative engineering and innovative tactical application communication networks filled with reports of Vrex units requesting support or evacuation as human attacks became increasingly effective. The primitive mammals had transformed from desperate defenders into competent aggressors who used captured alien technology better than its creators. Commander, we are facing total defeat, reported his tactical staff during an emergency briefing. Human forces have achieved technological parity while maintaining tactical superiority. Our remaining options are immediate withdrawal or complete annihilation. Zethka stared at the tactical display showing red indicators where Vrex forces had been eliminated and realized he faced a choice no Vrex commander had ever confronted in the Empire's long history of conquest. These humans had proven they could not be defeated through conventional military means. Commander Zethka stood alone in his private quarters aboard the Shadowblade, staring at reports that documented the systematic destruction of his invasion force. In 4 days of battle, the humans had reduced his elite troops to less than 30% of their original strength while suffering casualties that would have broken any other species, yet continuing to fight with undiminished effectiveness. His military advisors unanimously recommended immediate withdrawal, but Vrex honor demanded victory or death in battle. No Vrex commander had ever retreated from an inferior enemy, and Zethka could not be the first to establish such a precedent. Yet continuing the assault would likely result in complete annihilation of his forces. The solution came to him as he studied human communication intercepts and observed their tactical coordination. These creatures respected strength and military competence above all else. Perhaps they would accept the ancient tradition of single combat to resolve conflicts that threaten mutual destruction, open a communication channel to the human commander. He ordered when he returned to the bridge. Jake Morrison appeared on the main screen looking tired, but alert despite days of continuous battle. His uniform was stained with dirt and blood, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. Behind him, Zethka could see human officers coordinating defensive operations with professional efficiency. "Commander Zethka," Jake said with a slight nod. "I assume you are calling to discuss surrender terms. I am calling to propose single combat." "Between commanders to resolve this conflict," Zethka replied formally. "Your people have fought with honor and skill that deserves respect. Let us end this war through personal duel rather than continued slaughter." Jake considered the proposal for several moments while consulting with his officers. Dr. Lisa Shen whispered something about Vrex combat traditions, while Captain Ryan Walsh expressed concerns about trusting alien honor codes. Finally, Jake nodded and accepted the challenge. "Very well, Commander. Single combat it is." "What are the terms?" "Traditional Vrex dueling protocols," Zethka explained. "Hand-to-hand combat with personal weapons until one combatant yields or dies. The victor's people claim this world while the defeated forces withdraw with honor intact." The duel took place in the main settlement plaza, where both human and Vrex forces could observe the proceedings. Zethka descended from his ship wearing ceremonial armor and carrying weapons that had belonged to his ancestors for generations. Jake Morrison waited wearing simple human combat gear and carrying a basic kinetic rifle and blade. What followed was a revelation that transformed Zethka's understanding of human psychology and combat philosophy. The Vrex commander fought with discipline, technique perfected through decades of training and countless duels. His movements were precise and his tactics followed established patterns that had proven successful against many opponents. Jake Morrison fought with brutal improvisation that violated every principle of honorable combat Zethka understood. He used misdirection and deception and tactical approaches that would be considered dishonorable in Vrex culture, yet were devastatingly effective against traditional fighting methods. When Jake feinted left, then struck right while throwing dirt, in Zethka's eyes, the Vrex commander realized he was facing something entirely outside his experience. This human did not fight for honor or glory, but for pure practical victory using any method that proved effective. The duel ended when Jake disabled Zethka through a combination of precise strikes and psychological manipulation that left the Vrex commander alive but unable to continue fighting. As Zethka lay defeated on the ground, expecting honorable death, Jake Morrison did something unprecedented. He helped the wounded Vrex commander to his feet and offered medical treatment for his injuries. "Why do you not kill me?" Zethka asked as Dr. Helen Baker cleaned his wounds. "I am your defeated enemy, and according to our agreement, you have won this world." "Because killing you serves no purpose," Jake replied simply. "You fought honorably according to your traditions, and you accepted defeat when it became clear dead enemies cannot become allies." This response revealed the fundamental difference between human and Vrex psychology that explained everything Zethka had observed during the battle. Humans did not seek to destroy their enemies, but to transform conflicts into opportunities for mutual benefit. "I have a proposal, Commander," Jake continued as they walked toward the human command center. "Your people need to learn new approaches to warfare, and my people need protection from other hostile species. Perhaps we can find common ground." The proposal shocked Zethka because it violated every assumption about how wars ended. Victorious species typically enslaved or destroyed their defeated enemies, yet this human commander was suggesting partnership. The idea challenged basic Vrex understanding about the nature of conflict. "You would trust former enemies to fight beside you?" Zethka asked. "I would trust competent warriors who understand the value of adaptation," Jake replied. "Your people fought well using traditional methods. Imagine what they could accomplish using innovative approaches combined with their existing skills." As they toured the human settlement, Zethka observed the damage from 4 days of intense combat. Human defenders had suffered significant casualties, yet their morale remained high while survivors continued working to repair damaged equipment and prepare for future threats. Mining engineer Kate Sullivan showed him hybrid weapons that combined Vrex technology with human engineering principles. producing devices that outperformed either species' original designs. Communication Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker demonstrated how intercepted VREX communication protocols had been improved to create more efficient tactical networks. Your people adapt and innovate faster than any species we have encountered, Zethka admitted as he studied human technical achievements. You see possibilities where others see limitations. That is exactly why we need allies rather than subjects, Jake explained. Different species bring different strengths to conflicts. VREX discipline combined with human innovation could create tactical advantages neither could achieve alone, Dr. Lisa Cheon presented her analysis of VREX shield technology and explained how human modifications had improved its effectiveness by 40% through creative application of basic physics principles. The humans had not just copied alien technology, they had enhanced it beyond original specifications. Factory Supervisor Maria Santos led teams that were already producing hybrid equipment, incorporating the best features of both species' engineering approaches. Human workers collaborated with captured VREX technicians who had volunteered to share their knowledge in exchange for fair treatment. This is unprecedented, Zethka told Jake as they observed joint technical projects. Species that fight each other do not typically cooperate so quickly. Most species fight to dominate or destroy their enemies, Jake replied. Humans fight to solve problems. Once the immediate threat is resolved, we look for ways to prevent future conflicts through mutual benefit. The conversation was interrupted by alerts from the orbital monitoring station. The alert signals that interrupted Commander Zethka's conversation with Jake Morrison brought news that would test their newfound alliance immediately. Long-range sensors detected massive ships approaching the system from deep space moving in. Formation patterns that neither VREX nor human databases could identify. Unknown vessels entering sensor range, reported Communication Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker from the Human Command Center. Configuration suggests hive mind architecture with organic technology integration. Estimated arrival time 6 hours. Zethka felt ice form in his blood as he studied the sensor readings. The VREX Empire had encountered hive mind species before and barely survived those conflicts. These creatures fought with perfect coordination and showed no concern for individual survival, making them nearly impossible to defeat through conventional tactics. How many ships? Jake asked as he studied the tactical display with calm professional interest that impressed the VREX commander. 47 vessels ranging from destroyer to battleship class, Ben replied. Combined firepower exceeds our defensive capabilities by approximately 8-to-1 odds. Any other species would have begun immediate evacuation procedures when faced with such overwhelming force, but Jake Morrison simply nodded and began coordinating defensive preparations. His calm response to impossible odds demonstrated the psychological trait that made humans so dangerous as enemies and valuable as allies. Commander Zethka, your expertise with hive mind tactics would be valuable, Jake said as he gathered his staff for an emergency briefing. We need to understand their likely approach and identify potential weaknesses. For the first time since arriving at Colony 7, Zethka found himself fighting alongside humans instead of against them. The experience revealed aspects of human military psychology that explained everything he had observed during their previous conflict. Dr. Lisa Chun worked with VREX technical officers to combine human shield technology with alien power systems, creating defensive capabilities that neither species could achieve alone. The collaboration produced results that exceeded the sum of their individual contributions through creative integration of different engineering approaches. Mining engineer Kate Sullivan led joint teams that converted industrial equipment into weapons platforms using both human innovation and VREX precision manufacturing. The hybrid systems they created were crude-looking but devastatingly effective against conventional attack patterns. These humans do not think like other species, observed Lieutenant Caxwell as he watched human tactical planning. They see every problem as something that can be solved through creative application of available resources. What struck Zethka most profoundly was how quickly humans integrated former enemies into their defensive plans. VREX warriors who had been trying to kill human defenders hours earlier now fought beside them with perfect tactical coordination as if they had trained together for years. Communication Officer Lieutenant Ben Parker coordinated information sharing between human and VREX forces with efficiency that created seamless tactical integration. The combined command structure functioned better than many single species. Military organizations Zethka had observed factory supervisor Maria Santos organized production teams that manufactured ammunition and equipment for both human and Vrex. Weapons using materials salvaged from damaged ships and mining equipment. Human logistics capabilities proved as impressive as their combat effectiveness when the hive mind fleet arrived in orbit around Colony 7. They encountered defensive preparations that had been coordinated between two species with completely different tactical philosophies. The result was a defensive network that confused hive mind targeting algorithms designed to counter single-species approaches, hive ships attempting orbital bombardment, reported the sensor operator. Combined shield systems holding but experiencing power fluctuations, farmer turned Commander Pete. Johnson coordinated ground-based defenses with tactical skill that challenged the best Vrex strategists. His positioning of mixed human and Vrex forces created overlapping fields of fire that maximized defensive effectiveness while minimizing casualties. The true revelation came when Zethka observed how humans approach the tactical problem of fighting hive mind forces, where Vrex doctrine emphasized honor and glorious sacrifice. Humans calculated acceptable losses with mathematical precision while seeking maximum damage to enemy forces. We cannot win through direct confrontation, Jake Morrison explained during a tactical briefing that included both human and Vrex officers. But we can make victory too expensive for them to justify continued assault. This approach violated everything Zethka understood about military honor, yet its practical effectiveness could not be denied. The humans fought not with reckless bravery, but with calculated ferocity that preserved their own forces while systematically destroying enemy capabilities. Dr. Helen Baker continued her dual role of treating wounded from all three species while engaging hive mind boarding parties with clinical precision. She represented the disturbing human ability to show compassion and brutality with equal competence depending on tactical requirements. The battle raged for 18 hours as combined human and Vrex forces used tactics that neither species could have developed independently. Hive mind coordination proved less effective against enemies who combine multiple tactical philosophies in unpredictable patterns mining. Engineer Kate Sullivan achieved the decisive breakthrough when her team successfully captured and engineered hive mind technology, creating weapons that disrupted their collective consciousness. The hybrid devices combined human innovation with Vrex precision and hive mind organic integration. Hive fleet beginning withdrawal, reported Lieutenant Ben Parker as enemy ships retreated toward deep space. Combined casualties approximately 30%, but strategic objectives achieved. As the immediate threat ended, Zethka found himself standing in the human command center surrounded by officers from both species, coordinating recovery operations. The sight would have been impossible to imagine when he first arrived at Colony 7. Now, do you understand why we offered alliance instead of demanding surrender? Jake Morrison asked as they watched joint teams working to repair battle damages. Zethka nodded slowly as the full implications became clear. Your people do not seek to conquer other species because you understand that diversity creates strength. You make allies stronger rather than making enemies weaker. Exactly, Jake replied. Every species has unique capabilities that can benefit everyone when applied correctly. Vrex discipline and human innovation working together achieved what neither could accomplish alone. Dr. Lisa Chun presented her analysis of the battle, showing how combined tactical approaches had proven more effective than either species could have managed independently. The data supported Jake's philosophy about the value of cooperative diversity. The story concluded with Zethka recording his final report to the Vrex High Command recommending immediate alliance with humanity. His report explained that humans represented something unprecedented in galactic history, not because they were stronger than other species, but because they made other species stronger. As he finished his report, young Lucy Martinez brought him a drawing she had made showing Vrex and human warriors fighting together against hive mind creatures. The child's artwork captured what military analysis could not express: the moment when former enemies became something greater than either could achieve alone. This is why we will succeed, Jake told Zethka as they studied the drawing. Our children already see cooperation as natural while other species still think in terms of dominance and submission. Zethka understood finally that his true fear had not been of human savagery or technological capability, but of their psychological approach to conflict resolution. Humans did not seek to rule the galaxy through conquest, but to transform it. Through alliance and mutual improvement, the day he fought beside humans, he found fear, but also hope for a future, where species evolved together rather than destroying each other.